Welcome. Thank you. I'm Shoto. I'm the Sukansu and the Shisui here at SokukoJi Buddhist Monastery, which means I help keep things going, trying to help with the programming and the property upkeep here. I just want to invite anyone who finds value in these teachings to please participate either by joining us for the Dharma talks from either Sokuzan or his monks, his students. Join us for any of the book studies throughout the week, even just one time throughout the week would be great to see you in our Zendo or to join us online. We could really use your help with your practice, joining us, and also financially to help us keep the programming going here. So thank you very much.
We'll just wait a moment for Sokuzan to join us. Welcome. This evening, I'll talk about the third precept that we observe here, called no attaching to, what is it? No attaching to fulfillment.
You sure didn't help him out.
So this is a Buddhist monastery where we receive vows if we choose from our teacher, from the lineage. There's 16 of them, and this one is the third of the 10 grave precepts. So they're usually like no killing, no stealing, no lying. The way that we've received them is a little different. That's still in there a bit, but well, there's different translations, different ways that these are offered, and the way that we study them here is I find them very powerful. I have them in my phone so that I can practice them anywhere when I'm traveling or whatnot. And I think the way that these are offered it seems to be point to something much more ultimate. So the third precept, no attaching to fulfillment, is this body mind exists right now, is the body mind of Buddha. There is nothing that needs to be added to it or taken away from it. To allow action to arise out of the vow and to extend the merit of each action to all beings is no attaching to fulfillment. After doing what needs to be done, we return to our original home. So the idea of fulfillment, I guess whenever I read this, my first take on it is no attaching to whatever I think enlightenment or realization is. And that's not traditionally what this precept is pointing at necessarily. But as a Dharma practitioner for the last several years, that whole idea of enlightenment or realizing is a big deal to basically to the ego or the identity thinking it wants that. And it probably does not. So it's pointing to some kind of outcome, we could say. You make a plan, you want to accomplish something, and a lot of expectations, sometimes demands, get attached to that idea of what we're trying to accomplish. So as we've heard our teacher say, there's no outcome. The Buddha also says that, I believe, in the Diamond Sutra and other places. He also emphasizes in the Diamond Sutra to have the forbearance to realize that nothing has ever begun, which sounds really fancy. No beginning, no end. How does it go? Beginningless and endless with the nature like the sky or something like that, which sounds really fancy and flowery to me, but I find it actually quite practical. The path quality being that, like I said, there's some kind of goal that we're after, or if I just had this much more money, or if I just had a vehicle or a relationship, or so we could be aware of what it is we're after, maybe check in with how attached we are to that. That would be like a very ground level. You don't have to change anything necessarily. Looking at, we do need to accomplish things, relatively speaking, and we could watch how much we get wound up in that, leading to attachment, suffering, demands, warfare, disappointment, all of which are perfect. But the idea of no outcome has been pretty strong the last few months. I'm not sure how to describe it other than, well, there's an old Zen story. I don't remember the people involved, but there's a farmer with some horses. The horses break out of the fence and run away, and the neighbors come over and say, oh my dear, that's just awful. You lost your horses. And the farmer says, maybe. So those horses come back, they bring more horses. Now they have more horses. His neighbors say, this is wonderful. The farmer says, well, maybe. Then the son is training the new horses. He falls off and breaks his leg. This is awful. Well, maybe. Then the military comes to town. They want his son, but he has a broken leg, so he can't go. So on and on it goes like this. And I used to read this to my children. It was my favorite book to read to them at night. Better than Paw Patrol. And I just found it very powerful. And I don't know if they picked up on it at all. But it was good for me. And I keep seeing that show up. It's kind of like, oh, we also used to build forts or things like that, like a tree house. And I had way more fun building the tree house than doing anything in the tree house. So there's that kind of, there's something in that area of watching how that works. So that's the no outcome part. And I'm based on this precept and being very inspired by the Diamond Sutra lately, that idea of there's no beginning, nothing has ever begun. What does that mean? But if you start looking for yourself, where did anything begin? I think that's where we could look. I can't explain that, but it seems to be like a personal thing to see. And you might find a beginning, but maybe keep looking at that. Those are concepts, ideas we use to hold our whole, what we think this and that is. And I always get this sense of things are spinning fast, and that's when I'm completely assuming all of these things, that there's an outcome and a beginning, and I need to get my ducks in a row, and I need to do this and that. There's a certain speed to that, which doing a lot of sitting practice has a tendency to, it'll either point out the speed or it'll show a gap in that process. Or maybe you'll speed up even more until something explodes. This body exists right now as the body mind of Buddha. That's a hard one to talk about. But that's what the teachings say. You're already Buddha. You don't know it yet. Although sometimes, I don't know if it's the Buddha or other teachers say that when someone's realized, they see that they knew this all along. They've always known they were Buddha. So it's like it's here right now. It's very potent. There is nothing that needs to be added to or taken away from it, from this body-mind situation. So that area can be challenging as well, where it doesn't mean you don't need to eat or go to the bathroom. But I was thinking about that today and wondering if maybe that's included in the body-mind situation, that even though I haven't eaten this meal in front of me yet, it will soon be part of this body, and then it will soon be gone. So where do those boundaries lay out? I just think these are good things to look at. To allow action to arise out of the vow and to extend the merit of each action to all beings is no attaching to fulfillment. How do we allow action to arise out of the vow? So the vow being, my understanding is the Bodhisattva vow to be with all things, benefit all beings, save all beings. So why wouldn't you just have that thought and then just jump up and run around and start helping people? Which, I've done that. Mhm. And then after doing what needs to be done, we return to our original home. Those last two lines kind of go together for me, and I think about doing the practice called block sitting, which is a 4-hour chunk that you set aside to just, here we do shikantaza, and you regulate yourself if you need to do something. So the saying "don't do anything unless you have to" is something that we contemplate a lot here from Sokuzan. And I always come back to the block sit, and that feels like the vow to me. You're just sitting there observing. I can't go 4 hours without going to the bathroom, so I know that's going to come up. I'll probably need a drink of water or coffee. Often I need a nap. I don't sleep well usually. And sometimes that time can be pretty antsy, and other times, even though I have to pee, I really don't want to get up. I'd rather just stay there as long as I could. So there's something about that practice that is so close to the vow for me personally, I think, that I'm sitting there, and the "don't do anything unless you have to" is pretty potent, where I have to pee. I don't have to pee though. I'm thirsty, but I can wait a while. And then there's kind of like a real subtle area of watching that and being with it until there's a different signal that's like, no, you actually need to take care of this now. So I have a habit of not listening to my body very well, and that practice has taught me a lot about being with it more, whatever that means. I could talk more, but that's probably enough. So if there's probably no questions though, because I just covered everything. But if there are questions, I'll answer them. Sokuzan.
So what does it mean to be attached to something? And are we supposed to be, when it says no attaching to fulfillment, that means you just can just not attach to anything?
Yeah. Well, if you
Not
could.
funny. That's not funny.
Okay.
But go ahead.
If you could not attach, I think that would be, we would
Like-
just do that.
Like, don't be hungry.
Yeah. Don't. There's a lot of don'ts.
Mhm. I just wanted to say more about that if you would. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for the question. Yeah, that's such a raw area. I don't have words for it. I need to repeat the question. What does it mean to be attached to things? Is that,
Just say something about attachment, because you can't, we all know, and without explaining to anybody, you can't just stop being attached to something. So how, you don't have to talk about how I recommend that, but I do have teachings on that. But I want to say, how does it look to you? You've been working with it for many years. How do you work with your attachments? And say something, a few things that might be helpful to anyone here, to how they would work with attachments.
yeah, it's like I'm looking at it and I can't get the words. So I'm going to jump in. I am attached. And one way that shows up is I can't stop doing certain things that I kind of want to stop doing. So one thing that I'll do is, let's say I'm going to eat too much chocolate candy or something. I just can't, I'm craving it, I need it, and I'm going to do it. I can't stop it. I'm attached to it. But I might pause and just say, I actually don't need this. It's like a little lecture in a way. I mean, the ideal thing is to just be aware of the whole process, but sometimes it's so speedy that it's just, you just grab that thing so fast you can't see any of it. So there's something about slowing down enough to see what the whole process, and then also there's some kind of it's not necessarily mental chatter, it's like a propulsion and just adding a different narrative almost. And I think I learned that from the Buddha actually when he there was a beggar woman, I think. It's a poorly paraphrased story, but he made her repeat that she didn't need the money. She did, and then he gave it to her, and that led to some kind of understanding that she had never even taken the time to acknowledge. So I guess another aspect of attachment is there's some kind of fortifying of the identity. You can attach to a friend, you can attach to an enemy, and you project something out there that's holding this person together. There's more there. I'm just not finding it.
Thank you.
Lena.
Elena bowing. I associate the three poisons with fulfillment. Like passion, aggression, ignorance, passion being grasping towards fulfillment. So would there be anything related to trying to break off some of the three poisons by having that vow of no fulfillment? Am I making myself clear?
By break off, you mean stop,
Like,
interrupt?
yeah, is having that vow somehow trying to stop the three poisons? Because it seems like there's a correlation between the three poisons and how we get a fulfillment vowing.
It's taught that way sometimes to stop those. It's definitely not emphasized that way here, as you've noticed. It's about awareness. So some of us know about this thing called the 12 Nidanas, the 12 links. There's a spot right in the middle there, kind of where it's craving, then grasping, then becoming. So that's the fulfillment, I would say, is the becoming. And there's a moment there where the desire is so strong that you can't stop yourself from grasping. So seeing that for yourself, seeing how that operates for yourself, like the description of, me. I know I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm going to watch that process and I'm going to notice what's happening as much as I possibly can. So I wouldn't say, it seems like if we try to stop it, there's a push there in another way. So you actually end up grasping in a different way. The fulfillment would be, oh, I didn't do that thing. So we're attached to a different fulfillment, I would say.
Elena bowing. So you were saying in the 12 links, there's grasping, the desire becomes so strong that you grasp, and then there's becoming, which is fulfillment, which happens inevitably. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Like if it's the chocolate, it's like I gotta have it. I'm gonna watch and I don't need it, but I'm gonna have it anyway. My mouth is full of I am chocolate now. Like I am completely um enjoying the chocolate.
So then if that's fulfillment, then there's no attachment to the outcome of the original desire and grasping of that? Am I making sense?
That sounds like a really good question. Just not.
You just need to come up with a really good answer.
Yeah, and I maybe that is the answer.
My brain is formulating something. I'm just not clear what it is.
Yeah, I just can't tell which area you're pointing at certain areas, and I can't tell which one.
Why don't you repeat? I think it's interesting what you're saying. I'm not saying I followed it particularly, but can you go through through that again and ask him that question again?
So we have this intense desire that inevitably creates the craving and the fulfillment. So in this precept, we're not supposed to have an attachment to that fulfillment, which means we're not supposed to have an attachment to the original craving.
Still a good question, but no. I think we talk about it a lot here of it's saying don't do that, but that's so that you can see how you do that. That like we do that a lot here with the way these are worded. Don't do this, know that. Don't. And then you can't stop yourself, so you've got this tension there. Could also just say be aware of your craving and your grasping. And sometimes it's taught that I think in some of the Theravada traditions, the ancient ones, they try to cut down the desire. I don't think all of them do that, but that's what I've read. So cutting down sensual pleasures so there's not as much grasping. Maybe a way to say it. There's another way of looking at it where you can have the craving, the desire, and you're just going to rest there and you're not going to grasp. If you can do that, I mean, sometimes we have to do that. Anger is a good one for that. Like you just want to knock someone's block off and you're this close and you don't do it. Is that the area you're looking at?
I have another question. Elena bowing. Something you said, do you think this would also relate to, I hear a lot, the question of what do I need to be okay in this situation? Do you think that also would apply to no attaching to fulfillment? You were talking about like, what do I need to get my ducks in a row? And you said something else and it just.
What did I say?
No, it just made me think of that. But do you think that question, like it comes up a lot in psychology? Like, what do I need to feel okay in this situation? And I'm wondering if that would be another thing that would fit into this precept of no attaching to fulfillment or outcomes or.
When you phrase that question, I feel like I hear it two different ways. I hear the psychology version. I'm not sure I can explain this, but then I hear like my version of what I think the Buddhist version would be. Both very relative though. So just acknowledging, I mean, it's just taking a moment to see what needs to happen right now. Yes. Will make you feel okay. Because the Buddhist version is who needs to feel okay, and you're looking at duality, something else needs to make this feel okay. You're kind of breaking the whole thing down. But relatively, you might just ask that question, you need a drink of water, or you need a nap, or to call a friend. You could still be aware of that. I guess is the main point. These are tools to help us not miss our lives, be more aware, or more aware. I don't know if you can be more aware. I'm hearing what I'm saying and I'm questioning it. Is there more in that area?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yudo.
Bowing is attaching to fulfillment. What is there a difference between attaching to fulfillment and a demand for fulfillment? Bowing.
The way it looks to me is that, yes, there's a difference, that you could be attached to anything without it leading to demand. And that if it comes up to the point or to the peak of demand, I feel like that's maybe the extreme. That's how it looks, I guess, in my experience. But is there any more around that?
Bowing. I've heard those two links in the chain of desire and grasping as a place where where there's a little bit of wiggle room, maybe. Not that we should make a great effort to do something about it, but is seeing the desire, does that help to maybe lessen the grasping? Bowing.
I don't know if we need to lessen the grasping, so I'll start there. And it looks like seeing that actually the whole process is most important, because even the fulfillment can lead to the other ones falling apart. Like for me here, a good one for me is ice cream. I love ice cream. Everyone here knows I can't eat it though, because it tastes amazing and then I immediately feel horrible. So right there is strong desire, grasping, and then I'm fully like ice cream, but it's so painful that the desire goes away. So I guess I wonder if that's what samsara is like. Like it's so fun, but if you really see it or be it, it might be not worth it. Is there any more there?
You don't want the way you've explained it, I'm thinking now is what's between those two links is the attachment. Is where it comes up. So, but yeah, thank you for your answer, Bowing.
Thank you. Shoto?
Bowing. Is something actually satisfied when we are fulfilling something? Bowing.
No.
What is it that looks like that?
Ego, identity. That. I think I'm stealing this from Trump Rinpoche, but I don't know where he said it. But it feels really strong to me, is that ego will never be satisfied. So anytime and he actually taught about using the word contentment. Contentment is kind of I don't know what you call it, a wet blanket for ego or something. Like if you were just fully content, you're not struggling for anything. We all have experiences like that, but it doesn't take long to crank up something that we want or need, and just enough demand to kind of get us into that circular spinning again. Shoto.
It's been showing up to me just kind of the leading edge where when I think I'm satisfying something, there's something I'm sort of covering up with it. And I'm curious if you have any insight into like, what is it that fulfillment or satisfying stuff, what is that covering up?
I could only think of like fancy words. I'm trying to think of something different. It just seems like you could use the word awareness or Buddha nature or just being right there. There's nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to change. Nothing needs to be added or taken away.
Shadow bowing, it's making me curious if desire, is desire like a mislabel of something more fundamental? Like, is there something underneath what we're treating as desire? Bowing?
I guess when you're asking that question, without even thinking about it, I just saw a desire not separate from our basic nature. We're basically good. Desire is basically good. There's actually no problem, but we need to see that for ourselves. So it's extremely personal. If you can see in your own body-mind situation, I mean, desire is a concept. We're using that word, that concept. What is that really for you? Kind of the juiciness of it or the rawness of it. And is that different than your basic nature? Is it better or worse? Is it connected? I'm asking questions because I need to keep looking in that area. Sure.
Shadow bowing, I apologize that it's not super crisp, but I guess I'm curious, is there something about like time that desire perpetuates? Like how do desire and time work together?
That's a good one. I feel like they're connected. I hadn't thought about that before. There's an attachment to time. So I mean, we really think there is such a thing as time. So it feels like it's just one of the aspects. There's time, there's desire, there's aggression, I want to ignore the whole thing, but then that just leads to form. Ondo.
Ondabine, I'm curious how we could use this or look at this precept in light of the subtle things like habits. So it's one thing to like crave chocolate, pretty kind of a gross example of desire and grasping. But what about all the subtleties of our habits? Does this apply to that as well, Bowing?
I think so. There's a new book out, the addiction awareness meditation book. So I can't talk about it in that way. There's definitely attachment to, it just seems like everything if you start looking at it. All kinds of small habits, preferences. Sokusan.
So I feel and perceive, and maybe everyone here does to some extent, that we are addicted to things. And one of the things that we're addicted to that we may not realize, the most difficult kind of addiction is actually thinking you're not addicted. This is a scheme that works for a while, but we're addicted to experiences. We crave certain kinds of experiences, and we're addicted to them. Can you say something about that in relationship to the third precept? Thank you. You don't have to agree with me.
How could I not?
Good, thank you.
The word addiction can be strong, but I feel like it does apply just to the basic identity addiction of just the thought that I think I'm me, and that I think there's something threatened. And maybe that's not even a thought, it's just like a basic paranoia. So addiction to being somebody or something that experiences other things. And then beyond that, those patterns, we start noticing ones that we prefer and ones that we avoid. I mean, avoiding is an addiction, I feel. Did I get at your question?
No,
No,
that's all right.
just fail.
I ask questions, you respond. You're the teacher. I'm the
Teacher.
guy. The what? Joker. I'm the guy out here on this thing. No, you did fine. That's fine. It's a difficult thing to respond to. First of all, you really have to contemplate that precept quite a bit. No attaching to fulfillment doesn't mean that you can stop being attached, but by saying bring your awareness to the attachment, then you're more clear about the way in which you hang on to certain things. Quite a bit different the way you might hang on to or be addicted to this and be attached to this over here and think this is not an addiction because it doesn't seem to be harmful. There's no bad press around it. But it still is preventing you from seeing your true nature if you're looking to follow the spiritual path of seeing the fundamental nature of reality, which is what this path is about as far as I am concerned.
So we could turn into kind of a self-righteous identity, thinking those poor people who are addicted, and I'm not addicted.
You could use that to, like my mother, I like to tell this quick joke in the middle of your talk. Do you mind?
I don't know.
It's not really a joke, but it's very funny. My mother and stepfather were both quite attached, shall we say, to alcohol. And this is back in the 50s when I was still a little person, I think. But I remember them. I was asking about a friend, how a friend of theirs. How about Joe or whatever his name was? Is he coming? Says, oh no, no, he's not coming. He's an alcoholic. And I remember thinking, I'm a curious young person. And I said, oh, how um, how do you know if someone's an alcoholic? Because at the same time, I'm thinking, oh, you guys drink quite a bit. I'm like 12 maybe. And they said, well, it's someone who can't hold their liquor. Oh, no. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Like a bad alcoholic. Not a good alcoholic.
Yeah,
Bad.
couldn't hold their liquor. Addicted.
Did I get at your question, Ondo?
Similarly, it's still comes down to what can we do? What does this precept have us do? Like, I think you mentioned don't do anything unless you have to. So if you have these habits or addictions or experiences, preferences, how can we see them? Because they are so subtle and so sneaky. Darling.
Sit a lot. And just knowing that they're so subtle and sneaky and that you probably have some that you can't see. I feel like that's so valuable. I mean, just being here the last 3 years, you can have something just come out of nowhere. Whoa, that's how I do that. And you see, maybe you don't see the whole thing, or maybe you do. And that always comes back to, like sometimes Sokuzan has pointed out a cover up of mine, and it can be painful or it can be funny. But even when it's really painful, I still feel like I would rather know than not know. So there's that kind of, I don't know if the intention or the vow works on you after a while, and you're just sick of not seeing all your. Of course, I'm still terrified to see them too. So go slow. That's one of my favorite slogans. Any more? Yoka?
Milk bowing, early on, you said the word beginning, beginning, beginning several times. What is it? Is there something about looking at the way we begin things that helps us to see our attaching to fulfillment?
Yeah, that's a good area. And I was thinking more about, can you find the beginning of anything really? Like even, and maybe that comes up through looking at where does an attachment to a fulfillment kind of begin? Is it when you plan that you're going to buy the chocolate and you're already thinking about what it is? So you're planning for next Thursday when you're going to have that chocolate, but I'm buying it now. And so how big is that web? It could be much bigger than you think it is. But that having curiosity about that whole process. So even though it can be so painful to be addicted to something, if there's a little bit of curiosity around it and the willingness to be aware and maybe understand more deeply what's happening there, it may never end. That's scary to ego. But at least you can see it. So I'd rather see it than just have it be in the dark, I guess. Those words don't seem to do it for me, but that's the best I have right now. More?
Milk bowing, different area, something around what Elena brought up about being okay. And this kind of gets back at what you just said about the beginning of, yeah, if we think we know what we need to be okay, what happens to what we need to be okay?
Nothing. I'm not sure. Are you saying like you have a concept of what you would need to be okay, but there's something else?
Kabowing, I think so. I think it's like if I feel like I know or have an expectation of what I need, it seems like that can often lead me to attaching to a fulfillment rather than seeing what is it that I really need. So that's my area of curiosity is what if we see that we think we know what we need to be okay, then what do we do?
I guess the simple answer is just watch closely, observe. But that does make me think about conceptual and like I can ignore my body by using concepts about what I think I need. And there's a body thing saying, here's what you actually need. So I've pushed myself too hard at times and made myself sick through exercise and different things. And other times listened to my body too much and just, so I don't, that's kind of what comes up, although that's not really much to do with that other than just look at it and observe it and watch it. We should probably dedicate the merit. Thank you.